Did the season opener live up to the hype? We'll bring it all down for you next, right here on the F1 Starting Grid. Welcome into the F1 Starting Grid. I am your lovely host, Brock Young. On behalf of Mike Allen and Chaz Day, we're going to break all down Bahrain 2021 opener. Let's get it into it. Let's break it down right here as far as the winner, of course, Lewis Hamilton at a minute 32.3. Max is right behind him at a quarter behind him, and Valtteri Bottas coming in third at 38 seconds behind him. So
they were way out ahead.
They were way out ahead. It was beautiful. In fact, speaking about way out ahead, let's just go ahead and do this. We the results of the picks over the past weekend. Mike, you're at 59. Chaz, you're right behind him at 25, and I'm bringing up the rear at 0. Lovely, absolutely lovely. We got other weeks coming.
It wasn't hard to pick. I mean, it's been the same thing for the last 3 years, really.
It came close, though.
Did come close. And, something I want to talk about is, I think this duel, I think, is going to be different than the duels we've seen in the past. Especially the duels, Senna Prost, where they were just so at each other and wrecking each other. And because in the race, Max had gone across or got pushed off the course and had cut across one of the painted areas and got ahead of Lewis and gave up that spot because he had gained an advantage. Instead of taking the penalty, he just gave up the spot. And that's great sportsmanship right there. That's, usually drivers are like, screw that. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm going to keep going. And when I give this spot up, I'm going to pit maneuver him and nobody's going to win this. But that was a classic move. And then it's very telling after the race when they pulled up to the side. I think it was Max pushed his car and pushed the 2 past the 1 a little bit, just a little bit. But they all seemed to be pretty good, but then they got out and it was I like to see that, everybody likes to see the drama, but I'd rather see that. I'd rather see 2 good drivers going at it, laying it all out on the line, having it that close, and then having the respect for each other to dial it back and go out at the next race and do it again. I think this is going to be a fun year. This is going to be, those 2 are going to be battling. And if their cars stay in the race, those 2 will be at the top every race.
Chaz, it almost reminded me of 2016 with Lewis and Nico going at it every single race.
Such a legendary year. Yeah. I think Mike summed it up really well. I think that this season, hopefully, I think that's what we're all as fans hoping for, right? Like that this is a properly competitive season. What's been true of Red Bull in the last few seasons is they get better throughout the season, right? So if this is their starting point, everyone should be concerned because they absolutely, I mean, the only reason why, I'm kind of torn here because I agree with Mike that it was a very mature move for Verstappen to give that back. And also, he wouldn't have given that place back 3 years ago. There's just not a chance in hell that he would give that. So it was a sign of a lot of maturation. And I think everybody's given him that credit. What I think is also true, though, is he does also deserve some of the blame for losing that race because he wouldn't have had to give that spot back if he'd been more patient. Yeah. He had 8 laps in a much faster car. He should have just chosen his spot better.
Yeah. And I think somebody mentioned that after the race too, to him, and he kind of was like, "Yeah, I got a little antsy, but hey, you want to win." But I agree. He should have bided his time. He had plenty of time left, and he was within a second, so he was right there. He could have forced Hamilton to make a mistake instead of making a mistake.
How did you guys feel while watching that? Because while I was watching that, I literally thought there's a 0% chance that Hamilton wins this race. I don't know how. Like for me, and I was talking to Brock about this before. For me, there's two drivers on the field right now that if they're coming up in my rearview mirror, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was fun, right? Like Verstappen and Alonso. Yeah. Like those guys, I mean, they're just gonna pass you. Yeah. How did you guys feel watching the race at the end? Did you feel like Hamilton was going to pull it off?
You know, for the first time in a long time, I didn't know. And it was fun to watch. It was a fun race to watch because, you know, we've mentioned this in the past. It's usually been down to the last lap and Hamilton's got a 6-second lead. And they're just singing his praises as he goes around and doesn't wreck. You know? So it was good to see a fight and then they try to make it exciting by like, all right, a fight for 9th place. Like, who gives a crap about 9th place, man?
Right.
Because Hamilton's already got it in the bag. So it was fun to see that battle up front like that. But I honestly, when Verstappen overtook him, I'm like, God dang it, yeah. And then, you know, when they came back, it was fun. It was fun to watch.
I feel the same way because I didn't know who was going to win, especially towards the end there. But when Max had to give that spot back, it's like, I think Lewis is going to take it. I think this is going to happen. But let's talk about something here that happened that really is making news right now. That out of the 56 laps, and thank God we got to start racing at lap 5, by the way, with everything that was going on. But out of the 56 laps, 29, Lewis ran wide on turn 4. That was track limits. Mm-hmm. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Red Bull reported it, then Max came back and did it, and he got penalized for that. Or he said he got a warning.
Yeah, he got a warning. He didn't actually get penalized for it.
No, he got a warning.
But I mean, it was fair because like both of the Mercedes were going wide and then coming back because it gave them a better angle. Mm-hmm. But the stewards weren't saying anything. They didn't say anything for 29 laps. So technically it was legal.
Yeah, and that's one thing one person said too, and I kind of agree with them. I don't blame Lewis for this. I don't blame Max. I don't blame Mercedes. I blame the stewards for not catching it.
And they also, I think it was fair that they didn't, penalize Max, because I think it might have been something that I got the impression that it was noticed and there was discussion about it as it was happening, and then both drivers were informed and made the corrections, so there wasn't a need to hammer somebody. It's kind of like I don't know how to. It's kind of like a football, you know. Both teams are holding, so you tell both teams to stop holding, so they stop holding. So it's the best way I can think of describing it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Mike. I think that like to further answer your question, Brock, I think that where I think you're going with this is well, two things. One, sure, they got an advantage for 29 laps, right? They were only going wide because it gave them an advantage. If anything, I think it makes it much more scary how fast Red Bull is, because they weren't taking the advantage for 29 laps and would have, by every conceivable, calculable, measurement, he would have passed Lewis at the end of that race. So they're just, well, I'll say this. Verstappen in that Red Bull is just lightning quick.
Yes.
And Max did make a comment after the race that, in the moment he gave up that position but then he got to thinking about it. And had he done it differently, he would have not given the space up and tried to make up the 5-second penalty, which I think in 8 laps he very easily could have done in that car.
No. I heard him say that too, and I was like, okay, this guy, that's where you lost me. So like, I think
he could have done it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big risk. I think he would have lost the race. Because he knew he would have had to give it back, right? Like to make up 5 seconds, and how many laps was it? I think it might have been 4 laps.
No, well, when it happened, it was 8. He had 8 laps left, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So it probably would have been somewhere around 7 laps to make 5 seconds.
Yeah, that would have made it exciting.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, both of them were what, 30 seconds, almost over a half a minute in front of Bottas, was his third.
Yeah,
I mean, that's crazy. That's like they almost lapped him. Wow,
right? Which is
lapping him.
So that's why it's risky too, because now you're like, driving through back markers.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Gotta get past the Russells.
I said this going into the season. I think it's going to be a close one. It may go back and forth.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
For what? For drivers or constructors?
I think both.
For both. I think both.
Oh,
because
you guys are crazy.
No, these two are crazy. These two are going to swap back and forth.
Yeah, for drivers, but not for constructors. If Red Bull has any shot at all, it's drivers. The constructors, they're not even going to come close.
You don't think so?
No, their second driver isn't as consistent as both us. I mean, come on.
No, this is true, but we had a poll out this past week who would have a better season. It was Sergio or Carlos, and by 66% is Sergio will have a better season. Now, he did come back from, was it 12th, 13th position in qualifying to finish 5th?
I mean, the top 5 constructors were Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren. Those were the 3 teams in the top 5 spots. And Red Bull had 2 spots and Mercedes had 2 spots.
Right, but like look at how close Red Bull was to Mercedes. Not very.
Yeah, but like he said, though, he came from P14 all the way up to 5.
Yeah, that doesn't show up on the points.
I know it doesn't show up on the points, but had that been a different pole position, or had that been a different pole position, like a P9 or a P8, that he could have made that gap up, and it would have been Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes, Red Bull, or Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes.
No, it doesn't work like that, because that just means that he was faster than the cars he passed. It still doesn't mean that he's faster than the cars that were in front of him.
Well, it makes Italy in about 2 weeks very interesting, though.
Yes, it does.
Because last year was Lewis and Valtteri finished 1 and 2. Renault at number 3 with Daniel Ricciardo, which is now at McLaren. But Max didn't even finish last year.
Why is the break so long between the first and second race?
That's a good question.
It's like 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 3 weeks. And then it goes every other week. And then there's like a stretch where they're back to back.
What the hell?
Maybe travel time?
Well, they're going from the Middle East to Italy.
Coming from the Middle East to Italy. Well, that's true. It's not that
it's connected.
Yeah.
With all this time, they could take a freaking bus.
Well, it gives us more time to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. What do you guys think about McLaren over the weekend?
Big surprise. I did not see that. P4 and P7. And
Mike Norris is your guy, right?
Who, me?
Yeah, you like him.
I didn't have any dog in the hunt for McLaren.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were going to not be good at all, but they're up there battling with the big boys. And Ferrari is looks like it's turning it around. They're in the top 10. So it was Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren and Red Bull in the top 10. The only outlier was number 10. That's not right.
No, he had Lance Stroll number 10.
Yeah. AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri at number 10.
I thought he was 10.
Yuki was 9.
Yeah,
he was
Yuki's
9.
9. I'm sorry, Yuki was 9.
I'm sorry, so
Lance
it was
was at
2.
number
Aston
10.
Martin and Lance Stroll came in at 10.
But let's talk about Ferrari for a second. And you point out something there, Mike, that they're looking really good now compared to last year.
Not bad compared to last year. They're still mid pack, but I did not see them in the top 10.
But this could be a fight between them and McLaren for number 3, which that's where Ferrari wants to be this season.
Yeah, and they're right there in the mix. Yeah.
How about you, Chaz? What do you see from Ferrari this season? You see something a little bit better?
I think I'm like everybody. I'm surprised they're doing as well as they are. I mean, even in qualifying, and in testing, they were doing way better than everyone expected, which I will say is an absolute brilliant move, right? Like if you're Ferrari, every season is win or bust, right? It's like being the Yankees, right? Like there's no forgiveness for being bad. So him setting the expectations low, and we talked about this a few weeks ago with them saying, we don't expect very much from this season. That is the absolute best thing that they could have done, is set the expectations low, because even though they're performing, mid-pack, like Mike was saying, like for Ferrari, that's terrible, but we were expecting them to be even worse than that, right? So it feels like they're overperforming, even though for Ferrari, they're severely underperforming.
Yeah.
Well, at least they don't have the same goal as Haas.
I'm sorry. Every time. Can we do the Prix quote? And it happened early in the race, and that was so bad about it, because the rest of the race, all I could think about was Brock, Haas, and this quote. It was brilliant. It was so fun.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that here in a minute. I love that. But I want to read a quote here from Yuki, who placed 9 here. He describes his emotional. He describes his emotional pass on Alonso as emotional, because Alonso was his dad's favorite F1 driver, and for him to pass him up like mid part of the race on I think turn 2 there, he was really emotional, and that shows. I mean, we all talk about Yuki and how humble he is, but just go on about him and he's still learning. But honestly, I just see him as a humble champion.
Oh, amazing! Yeah,
I think he's weak.
Oh, Lord. Weak. There goes our feel good moment of the week there, Chaz. Thanks,
it's a rookie to come out and especially with the AlphaTauri, but it is a Honda, and Honda is pouring everything they are into those cars. So, to get. And anytime you do something for the first time, you're not going to do it the best you can, because it's the first time. You don't really have no baseline. Now he's got a baseline. He was in the top 10. So I'd like to think that he's going to be battling it out for the top 5 spots. And how cool would it be if it was him pushing either Verstappen or Hamilton in the final 5 or 6 laps, like an AlphaTauri? That would be. Well, amazing driving, because the AlphaTauri cars, even though they are Hondas and part of the Red Bull team, are not Red Bull cars, and they're not Mercedes cars. How cool would that be for that young man?
Well, I tell you one thing, Christian
20,
Horner,
right? He's 20?
20.
Yeah, so didn't they? Oh, yeah, he's the one. He's the first one. He's the first driver to be born in the 21st century. Is that
Correct?
That's him, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee you right now, Christian Horner's looking at him.
Yeah, he should be. I mean, yeah. I think he's definitely a good drive. I mean, he got points on his very first race. I mean, Grosjean hadn't got points in like 6 years. So,
well, he was in a Haas. I mean, come on.
He wasn't in a Haas for his whole career.
No, he was in a Lotus.
Let's see how many points Haas got this race. Oh yeah, 0.
That was a quick check. But let's talk about the other side of the garage for AlphaTauri right quick. And we were just talking off the air just a second ago about Gasly. Just an unfortunate, just unfortunate for him. Qualifying was really good for him, but just didn't finish the race.
Yeah,
Chaz, what do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I feel bad for him. I was telling you guys a little bit earlier that I read an op-ed that Gasly wrote, just explaining what he dealt with. Was it last season when he got demoted?
Yeah. About halfway through the season, he got bumped.
Or no, it had to be the year before that, because last season was COVID, right? We had a short season.
Yeah.
So he was explaining how in 2019 he was dealing with the loss of was it Antoine, his friend, from F2, and man, it was just a heartbreaking story. Those guys had been best friends since grade school and gone through the ranks together, both very fast, and everything just kind of happened at the same time, right? Like, he gets demoted. I'm sorry, he loses his friend, and then shortly thereafter gets demoted. I was saying, I still think that he's a good driver. I've changed my tune on that a little bit, but I do think that that he's still got a stench on him, just from being demoted like that. Formula One drivers, Formula One execs, Formula One principals. I mean, they're looking for people who are up and coming, on the rise. Even fans are. I mean, we've been talking about Suki more than we've talked about Stroll, and he's been, racing for longer. It's just because we like the potential of something new, something that could be. And I think Gasly kind of has a little bit of the stench of, going backwards on him. So I don't know what that means for his career. I just hope that it's not too damaging.
Well, I would say that would get a good segue to Aston Martin, but I want to get Mike's take on Gasly right quick.
Well, hopefully, he takes everything that's happened to him and puts a chip on his shoulder and goes out there and runs the tires off those cars. It'll make it more entertaining for us, and I think it'll be a great story in his racing career. But I think Chaz is right. You get demoted, and it's hard to fight your way back from that. You really have to do more than you would have had you stayed in the main team and been successful to overcome that. But I think he's in the right team. He got a good car. If he can get in the points and stay within the top 10, like in the next couple of races, he might be able to get some eyes on him for bigger teams, or even be successful in the team he's got. It would be a cooler story for me that if he just stayed with AlphaTauri and got AlphaTauri like number 3 this year, because he was just killing it and pushing the top 3. That'd be a cool story, but doubt that's going to happen. But
him and Yuki.
Exactly. Maybe him and Yuki battling for 3rd and 4th every race, or pushing Bottas around. Who knows? That would be a great story. And to lose your wing and then have you retire. That's very telling. When you lose your front wing, there might have been something more wrong with his car. I want to hope there was, because usually you just slap a new wing on and push him back out on the track. They didn't do that. They retired his car. So and he wasn't real happy about it. So there might be more to that. I'm hoping like maybe a front strut was broke, or a mount was broke, or the frame was broke, or something keeping him off the track. And it wasn't just tossing the towel in because, it's team doing. But
Yuki pushing Bottas around. I think you guys might have seen Verstappen challenge Hamilton, and now you think it's some sort of alternate universe. Like, what's going on? Like, these are challenge Bottas now too.
This is just wishful thinking. I want to see parity. I want to see those guys.
My God.
and be successful, you know.
Well,
and that wouldn't that be cool if it was a good battle?
No, it wouldn't be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I'm a Mercedes fan.
I know you are. That's why I'm a racing fan and my team sucks. So it's kind of like being an NFL fan and I'm a Lions fan. So,
well,
you know,
Mike, that's probably a good segue.
Stuff happening up here since Williams can't get out of the last two places in the freaking grid.
Well, Mike, that might be a good segue. I mean, any improvements from Williams?
No,
They look weak this past week.
Yes and no, because I mean, for the first time in forever, Russell made it to round two of qualifying and was in position and held P10 for a long time, and then got bumped down to like P12 or something like that, and then dropped out. I think he started P12 or P13, but and then during the race, he was in the top 10 for a while and hanging in there. And then it just seemed like his car gave up, or I don't know if I don't know. They don't really spend a whole lot of time talking about George Russell when it's the same old from Williams, and you come rolling up behind with a lap down at the end of the race. So
no, he did finish P14 in the race, though. Before we get to you, Chaz.
Hold on. He finished P14 ahead of two other cars, the rest of the cars being retired. So really, third from last.
I was trying to look at the thing half full here for you, man. But I'm going to give you a mulligan. Do you want to change your P5 pick for Williams on your constructors?
God, it's too early. It's too early.
Chaz?
Too early. Mike, have you been getting enough sleep?
No.
What in the world?
I haven't. Well, you know, this is the first race.
Oh,
the
my
GP
God.
didn't even finish. You know, we don't know. There might have been a mechanical something wrong with Williams. It's a new team. I'm still going to hold hope because only because they're qualifying.
Box. Mike, box.
I'm staying out. I can hold it.
Yeah, apparently.
I can stretch these tires.
Oh my God.
Well, that was your one chance, Mike.
Talk to me after Italy.
No, this was your one chance. This was your one mulligan right here. We gave it to you.
He's got to stick with him, man. I got to stick with him.
He's loyal. He's like a captain.
I'm a Williams guy since the 70s when they were winning. I'm a Williams guy since Nigel Mansell. That's how long me and Williams go back. So,
well, speaking about one of the retires, how about Aston Martin? Jesus Christ, man! I probably need to revise my picks on that one. Granted, Lance Stroll finished 10th, but Sebastian didn't finish at all. Mike,
he crashed. Him and Russell crashed. So
yeah, it was Seb's fault.
Yeah.
100%. Did you see him try to blame him too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He was like, oh, he changed his line, dude. No, he didn't change his line. You ran right into the back of him.
You changed your line, man.
He changed his line. Vettel changed his line, man.
He certainly did.
Yeah.
But I was not impressed with them at all. They were supposed to be. I mean, granted, once again, first race of the season, but they did not impress me at all. They were supposed to come out of this powerhouse team, P4 in the constructors type of thing, but no.
You know what did impress me about Aston Martin?
The car, the color of the car.
Oh, the freaking car, man! It's so good looking. So good looking. Damn.
Yeah, that's true.
It is good looking. Yeah,
it's like a beautiful girl with no personality. I mean, it's hey, but you can't take it away from her. I mean, she's drop dead gorgeous. She's drop dead gorgeous.
I'm glad this was recorded.
You know, I'm kind of wondering what the whole pink thing is. Is that a throwback to their Force India?
I think it's probably left over from a Racing Point.
A Racing Point, yeah, Force India Racing Point, because even Vettel's helmet was all like shaded pink instead of his German.
It looks good with the green though.
Yeah.
Kind of a nightclub kind of way, yeah. I can see Like, do my nails match my dress? I don't know.
And moving on.
No, it was a sharp-looking car, though. And the fact that they adopted the green color, which was from way back in the day, Aston Martin.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting merch. That's how much I like it.
Yeah.
And the merch, all F1 merch is absorbent. It's like the polos, like what, 80, 90
Yeah. Oh, they're crazy. Yeah.
dollars. Like,
it's crazy.
I was looking at Yuki stuff, but Aston Martin stuff is probably the most expensive ones on the market right now.
Yeah.
Aston Martin is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks the best looking too.
Yeah, well, it is. Quick.
That's another reason I like Williams is because their stuff's cheap.
And by stuff, do you mean their cars?
It's always on sale. 2 for 1. Take it, man.
Oh man.
That's how they buy their suspensions.
Exactly.
Their struts. They get their struts 2 for 1.
That's what they spend their tokens on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking about a team that didn't look good, Alpine did not look good either over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Alonso. It looked like days of old,
Yeah.
like 2018, 2017, with him just retiring in his car. But
yeah, had to be a bad feeling. I mean, he left McLaren with having a pretty tough season. It's actually had to be a pretty bad. So he left McLaren, very bad season. That Honda engine was awful that year, absolutely awful. They weren't finishing races. The races they were finishing, they didn't have power to really make a difference. And now you got a Honda engine at the front of the pack, and now you're with a different team that can't seem to figure it out from an engine standpoint. So, yeah.
Well, you can change the colors, but you can't change the colors.
Good point, I guess.
Wise wisdom there, Mike. Appreciate that. But you know,
Right.
Chaz, I think it's interesting that as we get closer to the end of the show, as we transition into the pit, we haven't talked about our favorite team. And I think Brock's just kind of dragging this out so that we'll have
no, because we got another team to discuss. The team that actually surprised me the most over the weekend, Alfa Romeo.
Yeah,
they didn't score any points, but they 11th and 12th, back to back together, and they both finished.
Well, yeah. Well, Kimi, for a while there, Raikkonen kind of looked like the Kimi Raikkonen of old.
Yeah.
He was pushing hard and holding off people. And
yeah, it's a solid finish for them. 11th and 12th, I mean, that's legit.
Yeah.
They look really good. Imagine what they're going to do in Italy there. They didn't do too well last year, but we'll see how they do with the new F4 power unit. And to your point, Mike, I'm going to let you discuss Haas altogether with your, now we want to quote it, the Murray Walker line of the week.
Well, this line actually encapsulates Team Haas. And of course, we all know Murray Walker had those great one-liners.
Yep.
This happened early in the race. First, I think the second lap, when Mazepin went out, spun up, untouched, spun off the track and wrecked his car. And the announcer says, "How can you spin off the track when you have the slowest car in the grid?"
That's hilarious.
And for the rest of the race, I giggled the rest of the race. I'm like, that is awesome.
The memes this week, the Mazepin memes this week have been so great.
Freaking gold. Oh,
I love it. I think I told both of y'all this, that there was a meme of a dog going around the racing track, just racing around the racing track where the drivers had to park because of the dog. And the meme was the dog had more laps than Mazepin.
The Mazepin. Untouched.
Untouched.
Yeah.
Untouched. In the back of everybody. Last car in the grid. Go ahead.
When I was watching it, I literally I was like, oh, like he got rear-ended. I literally said it out loud. I was, oh, he got rear-ended, because the way that his car moved, it looked like it looked like he got rear-ended, and they had the driver's view, the camera that's inside the cockpit with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh shoot, he got rear-ended. And then the person I was watching it with was like, he's in the back, and they showed the wide, and he literally just like completely by himself, man. Just lost the tail end. I don't know what's going on with that Haas.
Well, I went back and looked at that wreck, and the kid's there because his dad gave money to Haas, and I haven't done a whole lot of research on how he got to F1.
He can drive. He's gone through the ranks, and he did.
Gone through the ranks?
Yeah, he finished well in Formula 2. He actually finished ahead of Yuki.
Really?
Yeah,
that I didn't know. Well, he seems like he's out of his element. It seems like it to me. He's not driving well.
I don't want to say what kind of car he's in, but
he was untouched. There was nobody around him. Driving slower than everybody else.
He might as well be in a Pontiac. He's just.
Yeah. Well,
he might as well be yacht racing. He's like that car in this sport is what makes him out of.
Yeah. That could be true, because Haas is horrible. They are just absolutely atrocious. And then Schumacher comes in dead last.
And to your point, Mike, at least George finished above him.
Yeah. George finished the race.
Yeah.
George finished. Latifi didn't. But I think he wrecked out too.
Unfortunately not. Well, on that note, we actually have a new Twitter poll out there for you guys. We're going to discuss this next week. Will Haas sell at the end of the season? I know you got some thoughts on that, Mike, so I'll let you mull on that, simmer on that a little bit for a week or so, and let you discuss. We'll all discuss this next week. So, but in the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Form of Racing. We got a new Facebook page out there as well. Also email us, stay informed. This is the Form of Racing. This is for you guys as well. theformofracing@gmail.com if you have anything for us to discuss. But we'll see you next time. Next week.
And Ineos. Next week we're going to talk about Ineos too, right?
Ineos.
In that same thread of ownership.
Yes, Ineos and Mercedes F1 partnership. That's going to be very interesting too. So stay tuned for that next week. But we'll see you next time right here on the F1 Starting Grid.